Your Illini sleepwalk their way through an embarrassing loss against the USC Trojans. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome welcome all to another post-game edition of Locked On Illini. My name's Sunny Verma. You can find me here on this very channel after every single game, good and, in cases like today, bad. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. Let's just get to it. This Illinois team is super talented, arguably the most talented team in the Big Ten Conference, one of the 5-10 most talented teams in the country. But it doesn't matter when you play like this. This was a lethargic performance. This was an embarrassing performance. And it's one of those games where the better team simply won. Sometimes talent doesn't matter. It's the hustle. It is a Big Ten game, right? So USC may not be a good Big Ten team, but they have some talented players on their team. And USC simply just wanted it more. This was, I don't remember feeling this just disappointed after a loss since maybe Maryland last year. This was bad. It was again, lifeless is the only word I can think of it. Out of that 40 minutes, I think Illinois was maybe the better team for two of those minutes. And of course, we want to say it's the 11 a.m. start time, which historically Illinois is not very good at. But USC, it's 9 o'clock with their body clock. I know Philip is going to mention that they've been in Indiana, so they might be in the Midwest. But it's just, this is the type of loss, unfortunately, like this could cost you a number 2 seed in the tournament. We've now had 2 Big Ten losses to Northwestern, who's 1-3, and now USC, who is 1-3 coming into this game. This loss could have cost you the Big Ten title. I'll be honest. It doesn't matter if we're not going to play the SEC game, right? Like the hypothetical who the best team would be. Illinois is proving that it's not with losses like this. Michigan's a very good basketball team, and they have 0 losses now. And Illinois has 2 against teams that they should not have losses against. We haven't even played the Purdue's yet. Indiana's coming up. We're going to play Michigan State next week. It's one thing I know it's tough because we got wind, an hour before that Penn State game that Kasparas was going to be out. And so all of a sudden, a lot of Illini fans got a little nervous. Penn State historically gives us trouble. How do we perform? Illinois comes out slow for the first 5 minutes, and then you witness some of the most impressive 35 minutes of basketball that you're ever going to see. A lot of questions about this here game, whether Kasparas is playing. But a lot of people, myself included, talked about that even if Kasparas doesn't play, you could rest him because you don't really need a guy like Kasparas to beat a team like USC. And honestly, I'm not wrong. You don't. But when you play as lifeless as you played today, you would have lost to a lot of basketball teams, not just USC. There's a lot of group of 5 teams you would have lost to with that lifeless, lethargic effort that the Illini put forth today. I'm going to ask you guys in the chat who the MVP is because I have no idea. There's no one I can think of in this basketball game who jumps out to me. I'm having issues with Tommy. I was one of his biggest fans for the first couple weeks of the season. The guy's just, I said it early, he's soft. And he just can't get it going. I know Brad talks about him in the postgame conferences. And he talks about how great defensively he is. But we heard that before. We heard that with Ben. I'm sure he is, but if Tomislav Ivisic is just a serviceable big, then we have to readjust what our expectations are. I think Tomislav, he's got the talent, and it's one of those things where it's not even, we can't blame it on youth. Tomislav is like 22 years old, 23 years old. Like he's played up against men in Europe. It's a struggle. This is just one of those games. I thought Trey White would have a big game today. Trey White, I think, was 1 for his first 7. Finished 3 for 12. You really missed Kasparas today because you saw, I believe there was like 4 minutes left. And at that point in a game this close, that's who you give the ball to. You give the ball to your best player and like, hey, go make something happen. Illinois didn't have that guy today. I mean, they were down essentially the entire second half. USC came out and blitzed Illinois. And Illinois had to they never did fully react. But with 4 minutes left, with 5 minutes left, you want to give the ball to your best player and let him make things happen. And we didn't have that today. And you see how humbling the Big Ten Conference can be. Those of you guys who are my everydayers, by the way, if you're in here, I know we're not in the best mood, but do me a favor. If you can hit the like, I'd appreciate that. We got about 45 people in here and only 4 likes. I'm on here every single day. I'll show up on days that our basketball team doesn't show up, like today. We can't even blame this loss on Kasparas not being there, because if we competed and we just got beat in a competitive game, I think I would have been okay with it. But I don't feel good about this loss at all because they don't deserve my support after this performance. It was just a really bad, and again, you can probably kiss that Big Ten goodbye. Michigan's a really good basketball team, guys. And we're already 2 losses behind them. 2 losses to teams that aren't very good. Jury's still out on Northwestern. And as I was mentioning to my everydayers in this chat, like, this team on its best day can beat the best teams in the country. And we've proven we beat Oregon, the number 9 team in the country, by 30 plus. We took literally the number 1 team in the country at the time, Tennessee, to the very last second. But on the other side of that, I've said the same thing, that this team can lose to anybody when their threes aren't falling and the rebounds aren't being grabbed. And none of that happened today. It's just unfortunate. I think all of us have the same sick feeling. It's why you have to tune into every Illinois game. And, silly me for not taking USC a little bit more serious. Desmond Claude had the game of his life. And Brad Underwood, for as much credit as I love to give him on this channel, he has his blunders, he has his flaws, and his just sometimes inability to make adjustments to an opposing player just killing you showed up again today. I don't know why Illinois defended Claude like he was going to shoot from outside when he clearly was not. Desmond wanted to get to near the basket every single time, and he did. Going 12 for 20 for 31 points in 38 minutes. It's just an embarrassing game. AG, oh my gosh. AG's playing the way Tomislav should have. And AG's, what size is he? Much smaller. It says here 6'8", 225 is what AG is. And he was rebounding that basketball. He was nailing wide open threes. I think games like today showed that, well, now the urgency on what's going on with Kasparas got a lot more drastic, right? Because if a performance like this, we're not beating Indiana. Indiana, as much as I'm negative towards them, and as bad as I've been talking about them all season long, they're still a talented bunch, and they've won a bunch of games in a row. And the the secret's out against Illinois. If Kasparas is out, then you just constantly switch on defense, and Illinois, they just struggle. We don't have the alpha player when Kasparas is gone. We have a bunch of really good players. And when a bunch of really good players have an off night, well, then you saw what happens. They can lose to a team that's just going to be jumping on the ground for loose balls, a team that's going to be taking it to the rim, and a team that just wants to win this game. I don't think Illinois really showed anything about them wanting to win. I'll have more right after this. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Are you tired of the endless waiting, wondering, and worrying about your taxes? Well, now that's a thing of the past. You see, taxes don't need to be complicated or stressful. TurboTax is here to change the game by matching you with a TurboTax expert who can get to work on your return right away. No more waiting for answers. No more wondering if you're missing out on deductions. Whether you've got one form or 20, TurboTax experts give your taxes their undivided attention while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on what really matters. You won't have to lift a finger, but you'll get the peace of mind knowing that your taxes are being handled by pros. Ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your expert. Who's ready to take your taxes off your plate so you can focus on your day? Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. So usually in the second segment of my post games, I try to go through the players and highlight who might be the MVP, the positives of this game, and really I'm struggling to think of any. Like, if anything, it was probably Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, who made a couple nice baskets, 11 points, 2 rebounds on 4 of 10 shooting. Did have 2 turnovers and a steal. But everyone else, Ben Hummerkaus, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 of 11 field goal shootings. Again, impressive box score. But he was soft with the ball. He had it swiped from him plenty of times. I saw him. He may have finished with 5 rebounds, and it looks nice, but there's plenty of times where he missed his box out assignment. And especially at the end of the game, with, I believe, a minute left, USC scored an offensive rebound when it was one USC guy against 3 Illini. And Ben was one of those guys where it just so happens out of those 4 guys, only 1 jumped. And that was the USC guy. And that's the story of the game. Trey White, who I was thinking would have a huge game playing against his former team, had 11 points, 4 rebounds on 3 of 12 shooting. He got 11 points off of 5 from the free throw line. Just looked early. He looked like he was trying to force it. Like he was a little too amped up about playing one of his former teams and that he really wanted to look good. Well, he didn't. But he wasn't the only one. The entire team didn't look good. Kylan Boswell, I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about him now. 10 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Again, another bad shooting day. 2 for 8. 0 for 5 from the three-point line. 3 fouls. He did have 5 steals, but 6 turnovers. We're seeing the importance of Kasparas in the sense where if Kylan Boswell is your lead guard, if he's your starting point guard, I think he's about average in your starting lineup. And maybe that's the difference between Arizona last year, the Kylan Boswell of Arizona last year, and the Kylan Boswell of Illinois this year, who has been a very good basketball player. It's because Kasparas takes up so much of the attention and so much of the responsibilities on offense that Kylan can just kind of focus on being a dog on the defensive end and then just making open shots and finding his way in the offense when Kasparas is around. When Kasparas is gone, we really don't have another natural point guard. It is Kylan. And Kylan, again, just because he hasn't been asked to do this all season long, spends more energy trying to set other guys up and still try to get his points. He's been struggling all year long at the rim. I mean, he's got to have one of the worst shooting percentages when it comes to layups in the entire country. And today, he couldn't just focus on the defensive end, right? If Kasparas was playing the way he was, you can throw Kylan at Claude and be like, hey, don't worry about the offensive side. Go bottle up Claude because we need help there. But he can't do that because Kylan has a lot of responsibilities on offense when Kasparas is gone. And like I said, now we're all at the point where we're going to have to monitor what's going on with Kasparas and see. It looked like I told those of you who watched my show on Friday, the preview episode, I literally got a text message halfway through saying Kasparas is practicing with the team. So it's not like he's sitting aside, not doing basketball activities. He came out in the pregame and he didn't participate. He had that sleeve on his arm. But this Illinois team, they need Kasparas back. And you saw a glimpse of why today. If Kasparas isn't back for the game against the Hoosiers, Illinois is losing that game. And now you have 3 Big Ten losses going up against Michigan State, who has 0 next weekend. And it's tough. Again, this being a quad 3 loss, you're playing yourself off that number 2 seed line, which means you could be in the same bracket matched up against the number 1 seed in that second weekend. You want to avoid that. It's nobody wants to play 1 seed if you can avoid it. Look what happened to the Illini just last year. You want to avoid going up against the UConns. You don't want any part of Auburn. We don't want to play Duke right now. We want to make the path as easy as possible. And games like this is what makes this so frustrating. And again, frustrating as a fan, right? I'm going to get to the comments in this section. I know you guys feel the same way as I do. I'm the positive guy. Most of you will say that themselves. Even after really bad losses, I try to spin things around just because I like to, at least bring up some sort of positive moments in everything. I'm struggling to find one after this one. I think you guys can hear it in the tone of my voice. This was just a very poor performance and one that we didn't deserve to win. And that's what just makes things sad. All right, well, let's get to your comments right after this.
From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All
right, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. And if you're joining me here for the first time, we got about 72 of you here, 17 likes. The math isn't mathing, folks. If this is your first time here, I'm doing Illini content every single day. Win or lose, even on the weekends. You can count on this channel for 30 minutes of content because that's what I promised you, and you guys always tend to show the support right back. That's why I'm, kind of delving into this loss with you guys. Usually these post games, we get to celebrate a little bit. This one, unfortunately, is going to be more of a therapy session. And my rule for these post games is we all have 24 hours to say whatever you want, to feel however you want. And I know it's not going to be good today, but it doesn't deserve to be good. Like, I'm telling you guys right now, that's fine. Whatever sick feelings that you guys have, you're correct today. Even I can't find the positives. By the way, shout out to the PH squad in the Discord. And if you don't know what that means, you need to join the Discord. You'll know exactly what that means. The link is in the chat or in the description of this video. And yeah, we were talking throughout this game, and we could tell that the vibes just weren't very good. Let's get to you guys and let's see what you guys had to say. Jason says, have to love the ups and downs of being a sports fan. I love the ups a lot more than I like the downs, Jason. Said they're playing like trash. Jason agrees. Horrible loss. Tommy has disappeared. It's, I said this on the preview show on Friday. Brad's a smart guy, and he knows when someone is not playing well, and he knows it because he's kind of aggressive about bringing up his name in post-game press conferences before the questions start to arise about, hey, how come this player is struggling for this or that? Brad is very upfront. And this is why the players love playing for him, right? And this is why we, for the most part, love Brad Underwood, is he sticks up for his players. And he's done it. He did it certainly the last game where, like, unprompted, he brings up Tomislav Ivičić and how great he was on defense and how, he was key to just organizing everything on the defensive side. Because we all know the offensive side is struggling. He's missing bunnies next to the rim. He doesn't look confident shooting three-pointers like he looked like earlier on in the season. The Big Ten is a very physical conference. And Morez Johnson is a very good basketball player. And Morez Johnson right now is better than Tomislav Ivičić. And it's not that close. When Morez is on the court, he's a better defender. So Tomislav, Brad can tell us how good a defensive player Tomislav is. But the eye test and the analytics all tell us that Morez is clearly better on the defensive side. And I'm talking about the analytics will say this too. On the offensive side is where Ivičić provided his pluses. But he's not shooting well. Today he was 2 for 6, 7 points, 1 for 3 from three-point land. USC is the type of team that he should have dominated. They don't have size. Tomislav, you're 7'1", 255 pounds. I do wish that Illinois would just kind of throw it down on the block a little bit more and just just muscle your way through and shoot a layup. Do a little bank shot, something. Because right now, I'll be honest, I know he made one today, but when he shoots that three-pointer, I have zero confidence that it's going to go in. Zero. I don't think it's going to go in. And if Tomislav's playing this way, then we need Morez Johnson simply playing more minutes. Tommy played 31 minutes today. Morez played 20. Now, our ideal lineup has Morez and Tomislav playing together. Because right now, Will Riley's still struggling. Will Riley today, 3 of 7. But I don't think Will Riley's the reason we lost today. I think today was a promising. Okay, you know what? There, I found a positive from this game. I think despite his box score not being all that great, in 19 minutes, Will Riley scored 7 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists from 3 of 7 shooting and a turnover. The turnover was not a turnover, by the way. That was not a trap. Awful call by the referees. But I did see glimpses of Will today making plays, making the right plays, attacking the rim. So I do think that potentially we'll see against Indiana if today could be kind of a turning point game. Because for the last 2 weeks, when I saw Will Riley on the court, it looked like he had lost confidence. He looked like he was a baby deer not knowing what to do in this new world. Today, he looked like he knew what his purpose was. And again, the box score doesn't look that great, but I think this was actually one of the better Will Riley games, at least in recent memory. All right, let's probably get sidetracked. Let's talk about the comments. Czar says, no longer the greatest time to be an Illini fan. When does football start? I love Illini fans. This team, I'm telling you right now, they could show up and blow out Michigan State on Sunday next week, and I would not be surprised. That's just what the roller coaster ride of this this year's basketball team is going to be because they're so young. I was really counting on, I said it in the Discord at the end of the game with like 8 minutes left. Hey, this is when we need Kylan Boswell and Trey White to step up, to be the veterans and be like, guys, settle down. We got this. It didn't happen. Boswell had 2 good plays in a row, but again, this is where we missed Kasparas. We just didn't have the guy, and Caitlin just said it perfectly here. So you're missing your best player and think you can just not show up for this game? Absolutely pathetic effort and intensity for this entire game, and now you get to go on the road. And Seth brings up a good point. Musselman owns Blunderwood. I don't think Brad has beaten Musselman at any point. Not that that's embarrassing, because Musselman's a really, really good basketball coach. I think he's one of 15, 20 best in the country. But Brad clearly had the better team today. And to lose this game was not a good one. Jason Lynch is asking, what caused a forearm injury to KJ? They've been very secretive about it, so we have no idea. Czar's having his moment today. Maybe Brad needs a real assistant to help him in game rather than his kid. By the way, I love Tyler Underwood and Zach Hamer and what they've brought to this basketball team. The analytics that we're, progressively ahead of everyone else in the country with, in this three-point shooting, offensive rebounding, just the aggressive nature of our offense, it's because of those kids, basically. So, sorry, I know you feel a certain way, but I don't mind those two being on the staff at all. Tyler, another friend of the Discord, says, from missing all those wide open shots to shooting 21% from 3, that was a disgraceful loss. Expected a close game without KJ because Ben wasn't always going to score 19 in the first half. That's another thing. If you don't know the final score of an Illini game and you just have one stat to check real quick, just check the 3-point shooting, because then you'll probably be able to guess whether Illinois won that day or not. Today, 7 of 32. You live by the 3, you die by the 3, and that's exactly what this team does. And today, it was just a lifeless performance, and they died by the 3. We'll have more of your thoughts right after this. Terrence says, I guess we know what Oregon felt like. We made Claude work for 94 feet, blitz trap the Claude. We could have made Claude work for 94 feet, blitz trap the Claude on ball screen. Yeah, I mean, BD, I get what you're saying. It was one of those where we didn't try to change adjustments whatsoever. And Morez Johnson, for some reason, just wouldn't go up aggressively when Claude would attack the rim. And again, I love Morez, and I'm not, but he just didn't play very well when it comes to the defensive side today. He grabbed a lot of rebounds. He had, I believe, 8 rebounds last I checked. 8 rebounds in 20 minutes. But he wasn't able to go up with the shot afterwards, and otherwise just not a great game. As a Notre Dame football fan and Illinois basketball fan, this is my worst nightmare. Okay, NDF. And Tyler says, we could honestly be looking at an 0-3 stretch with these 2 tough road games coming up against Indiana and Michigan State. You're 100% right, Tyler. That's why I'm saying that you need to find out what's going on with Kasparas. Again, the fact that he's practicing, and for the most part, it tells me it's not structural. It seems to be a comfort thing. But the Illini, for whatever reason, are being so secretive about it that we don't have much details to go off of. So it's very irresponsible for me to sit here and act like I know. I don't know. Just like you guys don't know, I don't know. And honestly, even the premium websites out there, they don't know what's going on. But we're going to need Kasparas against Indiana, and we're certainly going to need Kasparas against Michigan State. Bloomington's not a fun place to play. Even when they're bad, that's just a tough road environment. And having this loss today is not going to help because, again, as you just mentioned, we could have at this point a 3-game losing streak by the end of next week. Czar says, DGL is my MVP. Brad needs to stop rewarding Riley with starts. I don't think Will Riley had too bad of a game today, but that's just my opinion. Seth is not a fan of Brad's coaching. And NDF mentioned what I said earlier as well. This reminds me of the Maryland loss last year. Remember how we recovered from that one? This stinks, but we are fine. Yeah, ultimately, NDF, I agree with you. I think we're fine, right? This is still a very good Illinois team. But what matters is the details. because a loss like this, we're now at 2 losses in the Big Ten Conference already. This being a quarter or Q3 loss, again, I think might knock us out of that 2 seed line when it comes to the brackets. And what that does, it sets up that March Madness bracket that much more difficult for the Illini. That doesn't mean the Illini can't still win. On their best night, they can beat anybody. But you can see on their worst days, they can absolutely lose to anybody. And that includes their first round matchup or their second round matchup. This team is just not, they can't coast on talent. Their talent is amazing, but if they're not hustling, there's a reason that this team's success is reliant on its rebounding, even more so than the 3-pointers. This team out-rebounds everybody that they play. That's hustle. That's pure hustle, and that's what Brad's trying to teach this basketball team. When you don't get that many rebounds, I believe we have 40-plus last game. We're at 34 today. That means lack of hustle, and that means a loss. Pat says they didn't body up, pick up anybody on D and dribble dives until the guy was 4 feet from the basket. Then we get called for the foul. Visic is soft. Underwood, go find your Kofi Coburn. That's kind of what I said. Like, we just let him way too many easy shots. Says Brad's a recruiter, not a coach. If he can't put talent the other team, he's in trouble. If he can't out-talent the other team, he's in trouble. Again, I respectfully disagree, but this is a therapy session. 24 hours, get all your takes off. Speaking of which, I knew my guy, St. Dominic's Rosary, will show up when Illinois loses. Knew this was going to happen. Underwood always loses games he shouldn't. I know. I could always count on him when we lose the game. No excuse for this loss. MKB says that was ugly and an uninspired basketball coach. That wasn't a good job on your part either. Exactly. No doubt. This was a bad loss and bad coaching. And I know what Brad's going to say in the post-game press conference. You know, he's going to use this as a learning experience. That's what he does. And ultimately, who knows, in late February, in March, maybe this is going to be something that they learn from, that they can't coast on talent. But all I know is right now, on Saturday at 1:40 p.m. Central Time, this loss stings. Caitlin says this better make this team realize they're not that good because they played like they didn't have to try. Basically what I just said. Exactly. I don't want to hear sorry. I don't want to hear anything about Will Riley or Kylan or DJL. Jeremiah Fear should be on this team. Thank you. NDF says Riley, in my opinion. Sorry, I missed that. Brian says people in Los Angeles are dealing with these wildfires. I don't think many people in SoCal are interested in USBB or most other forms of entertainment. Yes, thanks for giving me a moment, Byron, to wish everyone's safety out there in California. My sister-in-law lives out there. I'm very happy that she's safe. But definitely check on your loved ones and let us know if there's anything we can do. Victor says Boswell played good defense, is one of the few positives. Good defense, but it wasn't great, Victor. I feel like he got tired today, and I think Claude just outsmarted him on more than a handful of drives today, which usually just doesn't happen. But as I said earlier in the show, I think it's because Boswell had to split his attention into different spots. Infinite Soul says terrible loss today. We let them punk us down the stretch. We didn't care to win this game. Pat OD says you can't let a guy slowly. Yep, basically saying what I've been saying. Zar says I don't care at all about the Big Ten title, but it's games like this that convince me that Brad scares me in the tournament. I think maybe that's going to. Pat says Trey White has been great for like the last 6 games. Absolutely, this is just a bad Trey White game. He just didn't play very well. 11 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. USC, Tyler says USC gave Illinois so many chances to take the lead and put the game away, and they failed each time. USC simply wanted the game more. There's no way to say that. There's no other way to say that. I'm going to disagree with you here. Seth says Illinois' defense is overrated, can't guard a ball screen. We had a bad showing. Well, how do you guard a ball screen? By attacking the ball screen. By attacking requires effort and work, and they didn't do that today. So, I mean, yes, today the defense didn't show up like it has for most of the season, but that could be said for a lot of things. And I guarantee you, I go live immediately after every show, right? So I don't get to watch the post-game press conferences until I end this stream. But I know Brad's going to bring it up because that's what he does. All right. I think that's going to be it today. Again, this is a tough loss on a Saturday. I hope you guys all were able to, make the best of what's left of this weekend. Let's just put this behind us. You have 24 hours. Leave, if you're watching this after, leave comments, vent, go ahead in the chat. We got 39 likes in here and 81 people. So if you don't mind, please hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel on your way out. Tough loss today, but again, I'm going to be here for you regardless every single time. Just make sure, just remember, outside, enjoy the weather. Or I guess some of you might be in Chicago. If you can enjoy the weather, enjoy it. But either way, this team deserves our support. Even on bad days like this, hopefully there's going to be much better days ahead. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.